Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2016 book by Rick Riordan, Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, The Hammer of Thor. This came out October 2016. The Trials of Apollo, book 1, called The Hidden Oracle, came out May 2016. Now, it's very important to note that Annabeth and Magnus have a conversation at the very end of this book referencing that a god came down to Earth as a mortal and these Roman emperors are trying to destroy the world. While Loki is also trying to start Ragnarok by getting the Nidavellir ship made of toenails together to sail through the ocean to start Ragnarok. So there's two versions of the apocalypse happening at the same time in this book and in Trials of Apollo, The Hidden Oracle, which we will... I did not review book 1 and 2 of Trials of Apollo. I reviewed book 3, 4, and 5. Why? Could not tell you. So I got to do those reviews. So just a refresher, I have the Italian version of the Magnus Chase books. So for reference point, American, Italian. Obviously, this is way cooler because it looks like a movie poster. You have an actual actor posing with a sword, Summerbrender as it is, about to wreak some havoc in an alleyway of Brooklyn. So a nice painting. This is a movie poster right here. Movie poster. All right. So this is 6 months after we left off with the first book, The Sword of Summer. We know that the hammer of Thor is missing, right? Thor's hammer is missing. So our heroes are tasked with finding Thor's hammer. So Samira is being basically sold off as a bride by Loki, which is interesting because he's still getting poison dripped on his face by a snake in a cave with his wife, Sigyn, who has to hold a cup to prevent the poison from coming. It's just very tragic for her. Blood red eyes and blood coming down her face. It's a scene. But we are introduced to Alex Figueroa, the gender fluid individual that they are. Alex goes into many a spiels, many a times, and Magnus is falling into, getting some feelings for them. And Alex explains, I can't help if, sometimes I'm male, sometimes I'm female. It's just how I am. It's just how my body is, or it's something like that. So it was very important to talk about it. A lot of the characters call Alex Arger, AGR, something like that, which basically translate from Norse to like unmanly. But Alex doesn't like that term because it's not a proper term. So they always just correct people when they need correcting. But Alex is a badass male and a badass female. Alex is an incredible potter. They use clay all the time. Their weapon of choice is a garrote, which is 2 wooden dowels with a wire in between. Alex recently died. Sam brought Alex to Valhalla as an inheritee. There we go. And Alex is now a part of Floor 19. Alex and Magnus both have very similar rooms. They have an open-air atrium, grass or trees, stuff like that. Very, very similar. And they both used to hike on the same mountain as they have conversed and try to figure stuff out. But Magnus is still trying to... He's getting some feelings for Alex, which is very interesting and fun, having him explore those feelings. So, the Hammer of Thor, where is it? So, it turns out these two giants, Thurn and Therma, I can't remember names. They have the Hammer of Thor buried 8 miles down in the ground. These giants are cave giants, basically, and they have made a deal with Loki that if they are presented with the Skuffungbung sword, again, names just gone, with the Skuffen sword, with the Skuffen stone for the sword, as like the bride price for Loki, then Loki can escape the chains, and then they get Samira. But then in the process, they have to bless the Hammer of Thor as like another ritual or something like that. So the kids figure out a way, after getting the Skuffen sword, after getting the Skuffen stone from Hearthstone's father, where that was a terrifying scene in general, with having to kidnap that the slimy dwarf under the waterfall, steal his gold, cover the blue rug of the beast that killed Hearth's brother. Like, woo, that was deep. That was heavy, very heavy. So they get the stone eventually from the father, who's then going mad because he himself should not have this dwarves ring or something like that. Then the kids all go to the Magnus, Hearthstone, Blitzen, Alex, and Samara. They all go to visit Heimdall on the Rainbow Bridge, the Bifrost that it is. But Ymir Fadlan is with them. Ymir is betrothed to Samara. She will marry him when she turns 18. But she wants him to understand her life. And somehow Magnus, in a way, can heal people, right? He has a healing gift from Frey. He glows a little bit. He can heal people physically, but it turns out he can heal their minds mentally. So Magnus inadvertently grabbed Ymir's shoulders, kind of healed him, and said, "You're going to be okay. We're both going to look up. We're both going to see a rainbow bridge. It's okay. We're okay." And they both look up. There's the rainbow bridge. They all get on the Bifrost. They all talk to Heimdall. Heimdall says he can't really see the hammer. That means it's buried underground, but he does know that these two giants are talking about the hammer. So the kids then go to make a deal with a giant. Utgard, Loki's, what's his name? Little one or something like that. He has a bowling alley, which was an awesome scene of competition and betrayal and death, and it was so cool. So they're all getting some information that they have to present the sword, they have to present the stone, they have to present Samira in order to find the location of the hammer, which they did do. But in the process of all this, Sif, who is the wife of Thor, brings the kids back to Asgard. Brings the kids to Asgard. They technically weren't on Asgard, but they bring the kids to Asgard. She brings the kids to Asgard to discuss their next plan of attack. How to get Samira to marry this giant, to get the hammer of Thor, to, make sure all is right with the world. So they all concoct a plan, and Samira is the maid of honor to Alex, who can shapeshift into looking like Samira, and they get Thor and Heimdall involved, and another god is involved. So they sneak through the shadows of the caves to try to break in and dig their way through layer after layer after layer, after fight after fight after fight. And then eventually the gods are there to save the day, even though the kids are just exhausted and wiped and near death by this point. But Thor gets his hammer. Loki escapes by getting his chains cut from Magnus's uncle Randolph, who was kind of enslaved in a way. But then Randolph dies, and he's happy because he gets to see his family finally. Sigyn and Loki go on their merry way, but they're gonna... He's going to get the ship of Negaflir or whatever together, the ship made of zombie toenails, to then sail the seas to then start Ragnarok. So they have some time, though, because the seas are not going to be unfrozen until the summer. So they have some time to get things going. So Blitz and Hearth are going to do their thing for a bit, and Samira is going to do her thing for a bit, and Alex is going to do their thing for a bit. But Magnus needs to talk to his cousin Annabeth because he needs some help in regards to sea stuff, because they met the goddess Ran, who does not like them, and she even warned Magnus that if he ever goes on the seas, there will be chaos, and he will not make it. So Magnus can't get in contact with Annabeth, he can't call her, he can't text her. So one of the Floor 19 mates, Halfborn, Gunderson, I think that's who it was, suggested sending a raven. So he sends a raven. Magnus and Annabeth decide to meet up halfway somewhere in Connecticut, and they both share stories. So Annabeth is explaining that for some reason that there is no communication between the demigods, that she thinks that the Roman emperors are behind this. And we know that that's a fact because of the Tower of Nero, that there's the Greco-Egyptian god, the Ptolemaic god, who's like a little kid and he goes like this. He is trapped in a container on the Tower of Nero, causing that widespread muting of all demigods. But she didn't think that it would also affect non-Greco-Roman demigods, that it's clearly affecting Norse demigods. Therefore, obviously, it's affecting the knowns of the Egyptian magic world. Well, no, it would have to, because that god is Ptolemaic, and Ptolemaic gods are Greco-Egyptian combinations. Mythology. So, she explains what's going on. She's hoping that Percy's going to pass his finals, so that way they can go to college in New Rome, if everything is okay. But she says it's time for you to meet Percy. He knows a lot more about the sea than I do, obviously because he's the son of Poseidon, and that's how the book ends. So it's very smart how it ends. It's a very quick book. There's only 3 major, moments. You got the stuff going on with Hearthstone and his family to get that sword in the stone. You got that bowling alley scene, which I absolutely loved. And you have the whole wedding scene going from tunnel to cavern to tunnel to cavern to tunnel to cavern to get the hammer of Thor, to get, the sword the scuffling sword, you know, is used by Randall to get Loki free, but it's a matter of Loki being the antagonist for the third book, and the Ship of the Dead, or I think that's what the third book is called. So, Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, The Hammer of Thor, came out October 2016. Pretty awesome book. It's a very quick read. It's fun. It's not too dramatic, and it's very smart on Uncle Rick to bring in Alex Fierro as a character, because it's just another representation of the LGBTQ plus community, and it's showing that representation matters. And the amount of incredible ferocity that Fierro has, especially for book 3, pretty awesome. Very awesome. Extremely powerful character. Love the character design. The green hair with the black roots, the skin tone a little lighter than Samira's. Heterochromia, one brown eye, one amber eye. Bruh. My weakness of someone's physicality is heterochromia, without a doubt. I love heterochromia. It is incredible. Super rare. So Alex is just awesome. They're just awesome. That's all that matters. And so, on to the next book. Mucho mahalo.